On April 9, 2016, a chilling call shocked the Renton Police Department. The remains of a woman's body, Ingrid Line, were found in a white trash bag. The discovery included a severed arm, a detached head, and a sliced-off leg. Investigators began their search for answers, leading them to a suspect. What dark secrets would they uncover in their pursuit of justice? Let's go back to the beginning. Ingrid Rounceville, a lively individual, was born on August 2, 1975, in Arizona. She graduated from Canyon del Oro High School in Tucson in 1993 and pursued nursing, earning a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from the University of Arizona in 1997. In 2000, Ingrid moved to Washington, where she worked at Seattle's Swedish Medical Center, positively impacting many lives. She married Philip Line and had 3 daughters, Reese, Brooke, and Noelle. After divorcing Philip in 2014, Ingrid moved to Renton with her daughters to start a new chapter. As a single mother, she faced challenges but was devoted to her children's happiness. In 2016, Ingrid was living in Renton with her daughters, aged 6, 8, and 10. Despite the divorce, Ingrid and Philip remained in touch for their daughters' sake. The divorce left Ingrid feeling broken, longing for love and respect she missed in her previous marriage. During this challenging period, Ingrid, a 40-year-old woman, found solace in an online connection she made through a dating site. Their conversations provided her with comfort, momentarily alleviating her pain and giving her a sense of love. This individual made her feel beautiful and accepted her, despite the fact that she already had 3 daughters. It was like a dream come true for Ingrid, signifying the start of a new chapter in her life. On April 8, 2016, after a month of online communication, Ingrid took a leap of faith and agreed to meet this person for a date. It was her way of embracing the possibility of moving forward. Ingrid entrusted her daughters to her ex-husband's care, assuring them that she would take them out the following day. Ingrid and her date decided to attend the opening game of the Seattle Mariners, an exhilarating baseball event. After the game, they went to a bar where the man's sister happened to work. They spent the evening happily playing darts, sharing drinks, and laughing together. Ingrid felt an overwhelming sense of happiness and freedom. The next day, on April 9, 2016, Philip, Ingrid's ex-husband, arrived at her home in Renton around 10 a.m. to drop off their daughters. As he approached the house, he noticed that Ingrid's 2015 silver Toyota Highlander was missing. Concerned, he repeatedly knocked on the door, but received no response. He tried calling her multiple times, but Ingrid did not answer any of his calls. This was unusual because Ingrid was known for never breaking promises, especially when it came to her daughters. Philip couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Growing increasingly worried, he decided to contact Ingrid's mother, Jorga Boss, hoping she might have some information about Ingrid's whereabouts. However, Jorga was also concerned when she learned that Ingrid was not at home, as she had no idea where Ingrid could be. Filled with anxiety, Jorga hurried to Ingrid's house, armed with a spare key. She utilized it to gain entry into the residence and called out for Ingrid, yet there was no reply. Alarmed, Jorga proceeded upstairs to inspect Ingrid's bedroom, only to discover that Ingrid was not there. However, she did stumble upon Ingrid's purse and phone on the table, but there was no trace of Ingrid or her car. The situation appeared peculiar and suspicious. It didn't make sense for Ingrid to leave the house without her phone and purse if she had indeed departed. After all, most individuals wouldn't leave their homes without money or a means of communication. This raised even more inquiries and concerns about Ingrid's whereabouts. Without wasting any time, Jorga promptly contacted the police and reported her daughter as missing. Upon arrival at Ingrid's residence in Renton, the Renton Police Department officers were met by Jorga, whose tear-filled eyes conveyed her distress. Initially, the police attempted to console Jorga, suggesting that Ingrid may have gone out and would return soon. However, Jorga's intuition told her otherwise. She had a gut feeling that something was wrong. Determined to locate her daughter, she implored the police to conduct a thorough investigation. The police wasted no time and commenced a meticulous door-to-door inquiry, interrogating the neighbors in hopes of uncovering any leads. They diligently questioned the neighbors, inquiring if they had witnessed Ingrid entering her house the previous night or leaving in the morning. One neighbor had an intriguing account to share. He disclosed that he had seen Ingrid returning home with an unfamiliar man the previous night. The man appeared suspicious, as the neighbor had never seen him before. What perplexed everyone was the fact that no one had observed Ingrid leaving her house thereafter. The question lingered. Who was this man? And if Ingrid had returned home but was not seen leaving, where could she possibly be? The police urged individuals to reflect on any unusual incidents they may have noticed the night before or that morning. They encouraged anyone with information to come forward, as it could be crucial in locating Ingrid. The daughters were growing increasingly concerned upon seeing the police inquire about their mother. They turned to Jorga, their grandmother, for answers. They inquired about their mother's well-being, but Jorga reassured them, explaining that she had simply gone out and would be back soon. The police assured Jorga that they would investigate the situation. Jorga anxiously awaited her daughter's return, and suddenly a realization dawned on her. Jorga remembered that she and Ingrid shared a Verizon account, which provides access to various services like phone plans and internet. Intrigued, she checked the phone records and noticed a recurring number that Ingrid had been in contact with, even on the day she disappeared. Jorga decided to dig deeper and input the number into Facebook. To her surprise, a profile belonging to a man named John Charlton popped up. Filled with hope, she messaged him, desperately seeking any information about Ingrid's whereabouts. The response was prompt. "I'm John. I assumed she was with her children today," John replied. Jorga quickly responded, her hands shaking as she typed, "When was the last time you saw her?" "She wasn't here. Her phone, driver's license, and purse were all left behind, but she's gone. I've contacted 911 for assistance." John's reply conveyed confusion. 911? What's going on? He elaborated. "We attended the Mariners game last night, but we didn't spend the night together because she had plans with her kids today. I'm not sure what she told you about me and our relationship." Fear gripped Jorga as she messaged back. "She's missing. Can you please provide the time you last saw her? The authorities need to speak with you, as you might be the last person to have seen her." At that moment, it became evident to Jorga that Ingrid had indeed gone on a date with John Charlton the previous evening. It appeared probable that he was the same individual the neighbor had witnessed accompanying Ingrid back to her residence. With a mixture of concern and optimism, Jorga realized that John might possess some knowledge regarding Ingrid's whereabouts. However, John remained silent, leaving Jorga in a state of anxiety and desperation for answers. She persisted in sending him messages pleading, "John, please call me. I am aware that your name is John Charlton, so kindly reach out to me." With each passing moment, the burden of uncertainty grew heavier. Jorga could not bear the thought of her daughter disappearing without a trace. She persevered, hoping for any lead, and messaged him once again. "John, did Ingrid mention anything about meeting someone after you parted ways last night? We cannot locate her or her vehicle. Her phone, identification, and purse are at home, but she and her car have vanished. We are at our wits' end, desperate for any assistance. Ingrid would never simply abandon her family like this." Nevertheless, John remained silent and did not respond to any of the messages. Jorga felt a sense of helplessness, and tears streamed down her face. The situation escalated when, 6 hours after Ingrid was reported missing, around 4 p.m., the police received a disturbing call from an individual named Mike Novasio. Mike resided approximately 10 miles away from Ingrid's residence at 21st Avenue and East Rhine Street in Seattle. In a frightened tone, he conveyed that while taking out his recycling bin, he stumbled upon what appeared to be human body parts enclosed in white trash bags. Mike's voice quivered as he recounted his unsettling encounter. He described seeing a head and noticing the painted toenails, which caused a wave of sickness to wash over him. The sight was unbearable. He explained that the body parts had been meticulously wrapped in the bags, indicating a disturbing level of precision. The police wasted no time and promptly arrived at the location. With meticulous care, they retrieved the bags from the bins. As the bags were opened, a chilling shock fell upon them. They stumbled upon a decapitated head, a fragment of a leg and an arm, with the remaining body parts nowhere to be found. Due to the absence of decomposition, the facial features remained intact and recognizable, suggesting that the individual had been recently murdered. A human leg was discovered at a recycling plant on South Hanford Street in Seattle. The leg belonged to a woman with the same painted toenails as Ingrid. This indicated that Ingrid's body parts had been scattered across 3 different locations, including the easily accessible recycling bins. The police began to suspect that the perpetrator might not be a serial killer, as they typically dispose of bodies in more concealed locations. Instead, they started considering the possibility that the culprit could be someone close to Ingrid. Determined to uncover any overlooked evidence, the police returned to Ingrid's home and decided to remove the plumbing for a thorough examination. Upon their surprise, they stumbled upon more blood in the disassembled drain trap. To aid their investigation, they employed a reagent known as Blue Star, which unveiled additional traces of blood that had been meticulously cleaned. It was clear that this was not a spur-of-the-moment act of violence. It was a meticulously planned and executed murder, introducing a captivating twist to the case. As the results from the analysis came in, more unsettling details about Ingrid's demise surfaced. Initially deemed as homicidal violence, a closer examination by the medical examiner revealed petechiae, small blood vessels in her eyes indicating strangulation. Furthermore, signs of hemorrhaging on the neck were found. It was apparent that Ingrid was first strangled and then dismembered within her own residence. The revelation shed light on the brutal way Ingrid's life was taken, hinting at a deep-seated animosity towards her. The toxicology report disclosed that Ingrid had no drugs in her system, but her blood alcohol level was .074, slightly above the normal range. 2 days later, on April 20th, 2016, authorities located Ingrid's vehicle in Belltown, a mere 6-minute drive from Seattle. This raised suspicions as John had claimed Ingrid dropped him off downtown and should have returned home before her murder. The abandonment of her car so close to Seattle, where they had attended a Seattle Mariners game together, seemed peculiar. Law enforcement meticulously combed through the entire vehicle and made a chilling discovery. The same white trash bags containing Ingrid's dismembered body parts were found inside the car. Additionally, 3 fingerprints were found on the driver's door handle of the vehicle. These prints were crucial as they could belong to Ingrid, given that the car was hers, or they could belong to the perpetrator who had driven her car to that location. Realizing the significance of this evidence, the fingerprints were promptly sent for testing. The findings confirmed the suspicions of the police. The fingerprints were a match for John Charlton, the individual Ingrid had gone out with on the evening she went missing. It became apparent that John's statements during the interrogation were all calculated tactics to mislead the authorities. Despite initially claiming to be intoxicated and unaware of the events that transpired that night, the meticulous planning and execution of the crime, coupled with the thorough cleaning of the residence to eliminate any traces of evidence, indicated that John acted with full consciousness and possessed a clear motive for murdering Ingrid. The police recollected that during the questioning, John had mentioned staying with his former girlfriend. In their pursuit of gathering more information about John, the police exerted significant efforts to locate and interview his ex-girlfriend, ensuring her identity remained undisclosed for privacy concerns. During the interview, she disclosed that John, who worked as a day laborer, typically spent his nights at a shelter in Seattle, except for a few nights each week when he stayed at her place. They had known each other for approximately a year, and she permitted him to store some of his belongings at her residence. Interestingly, she informed the police that John was supposed to visit her on the Saturday morning of April 9th, 2016, the day after his encounter with Ingrid. However, he arrived later than planned, citing an unforeseen circumstance. She revealed that he arrived at the bus station in Lake Stevens around 10:30 p.m., and she immediately noticed that he had a swollen and injured lip. When questioned about it, John claimed that he had been the victim of an attempted robbery at a bar, despite still having his wallet. This particular detail captured the attention of the police. When they interrogated John on April 11, 2016, they observed abrasions on his head, chin, and scratches on his chest and arms. These injuries appeared to align with the unsettling possibility that they may have been inflicted during the struggle between John and Ingrid when he strangled her. It seemed as though she had put up a strong fight, leaving her mark on him in a desperate bid to defend herself. The police acted swiftly without hesitation, taking John into custody and charging him with the murder of Ingrid Line. John Robert Charlton was born in 1979 in Washington to Ray and Joanne Charlton. At 37 years old, he had a history of encounters with the law. His past included a misdemeanor assault conviction in King County in 1997, indicating a propensity for aggression. Additionally, he had a history of negligent driving in Washington State in 1998. In 2006, he faced charges of attempted aggravated robbery in Utah. It appeared that he was no stranger to trouble. In 2008, he was found guilty of felony theft in Montana. Moreover, records showed a misdemeanor battery case in Idaho in 2009, hinting at a pattern of violent behavior. These prior run-ins with the law added a layer of complexity to John's character and raised suspicions about his potential involvement in serious crimes. John's turbulent past extended beyond his criminal record. Troubling incidents involving his parents shed light on his volatile behavior. In 2006, John's parents sought protection from him, citing concerns for their safety. They recounted his drunken outbursts and expressed fear for their well-being. Court documents detailed a disturbing incident on March 2, 2006, when John, under the influence of alcohol, turned physically and verbally abusive towards his parents. During that episode, John allegedly took the movie Hannibal from a shelf in the house and placed it in front of his mother, warning her to watch it and be cautious. According to his parents, John held grudges for years, and his conduct grew increasingly menacing and violent when under the influence of alcohol or drugs. They also suspected his use of crack cocaine. Although the request for the protection order was eventually dismissed, these occurrences painted a troubling picture of John's unstable and aggressive tendencies. John initially denied any knowledge of Ingrid's fate, but eventually changed his plea to guilty before the trial began. The prosecution presented a compelling case in court, alleging that John had murdered Ingrid inside her own home. Shockingly, it was revealed that John had driven through downtown Seattle, disposing of Ingrid's body parts in various trash cans. The medical examiner's report confirmed that Ingrid's death was a result of violent homicide. In response, the defense argued that there was a lack of forensic evidence linking anyone, including their client, to Ingrid's murder. They urged the community not to rush to conclusions during this tragic event. However, all the evidence seemed to point towards John's involvement. The prosecutor, Dan Satterberg, acknowledged that there were still unanswered questions surrounding the motive behind Ingrid's murder. Nevertheless, he praised the diligent work of the police and prosecutors in gathering evidence to build a strong case against the person they believed was responsible for her death. It was a challenging task, but their dedication paid off in delivering justice for Ingrid. John was sentenced to a maximum of 27 years and 9 months in prison, in accordance with the state's guidelines. However, Judge Julie Spector, presiding over the case in King County Superior Court, expressed her strong condemnation, stating that if she had the authority, she would have given him a life sentence. She described his actions as unimaginably vicious and cruel. During the sentencing hearing, John addressed the court and Ingrid's grieving family, acknowledging the immense pain he had caused and expressing genuine remorse. Ingrid's ex-husband, Philip, spoke about the profound loss caused by John's actions, highlighting how John had not only taken away a co-parent and confidant, but also a loving and caring mother to their daughters. Philip expressed his sorrow over the fact that the children would no longer have the guidance and wisdom of Ingrid as a mother figure. He mentioned that they would miss out on cherished traditions such as celebrating July 4th in Big Fork, Montana, going on beach trips, and enjoying Thursday night dinners at a steakhouse. Additionally, Philip shared the heartbreaking realization that their future grandchildren would never experience the love and care of a maternal grandmother. Despite their resilience, Philip acknowledged that their daughters deeply feel the absence of their mother every day, each in their own unique way. Ingrid's close friend, Nancy Civitilli, described the indescribable horror that engulfed everyone upon hearing about Ingrid's tragic death. She emphasized that the murder was not just an act of violence, but a violation of Ingrid's body, leaving behind an unimaginable aftermath. Civitilli did not hold back in calling John a coward, directly addressing him and reminding him of the profound impact his actions had on Ingrid's daughters. She pointed out how he selfishly tore away a beautiful person and a devoted mother from their lives. Civitilli also highlighted the loss felt by friends like herself, who considered Ingrid as a sister. While justice has been served, the scars of this tragedy will forever remain.
On the quiet autumn night of October 31st, 1991, in Tyler, Texas, as the fall season settled in, the clock struck 2 a.m. The peaceful neighborhood of 29th Street was deep in slumber, except for a small framed house nestled at the corner, unaware that it was about to become a scene of horror. 8-year-old Chad Choice lay in his bed, lost in dreams, when an intruder silently invaded the house, snatching him away into the darkness of the night. Initially deemed a runaway incident due to lack of evidence, the case transformed into a nightmare for investigators once the crucial 48-hour window passed without any sign of Chad, who might have had the means to silently infiltrate Chad's home, spiriting him away without a trace. But the pivotal question remains, would Chad ever reunite with his family and return home? This city, Tyler, named after the 10th President of the United States, John Tyler, stands as the largest in northeastern Texas, often referred to as the Rose Capital or Rose City. Tyler earned its reputation due to its extensive history of rose production, cultivation, and processing. Each October, the city welcomes thousands of tourists. However, the October of 1991 took a dark turn as Chad Choice mysteriously vanished without a trace, casting a shadow over the usually vibrant atmosphere. Ernest Chadwick Choice, known affectionately as Chad Choice, came into the world on April 26, 1983, in Texas. He was one of the cherished 4 children in the Choice household, a beautiful soul deeply adored by his family, particularly his mother, Karen Elaine Choice. Chad was an outgoing youngster surrounded by a large circle of friends with whom he frequently played. Moreover, his strong bond and affectionate relationship with his siblings were apparent as they often enjoyed quality time together. Chad's energetic and lively nature were further evident in his regular visits to the playground. Chad had an older sister named Angela Choice, who fondly recalls that her little brother had a passion for riding bikes, scaling trees, and indulging in sports. Details about the remaining siblings were not made public. As a student at Mamie G. Griffin Elementary School, Chad's life was in its budding stage. At just 8 years old, he had his entire future ahead of him. However, fate often takes unforeseen turns, and tragically, Chad's destiny had already been sealed. The daily routine of the Choice family was shattered on the morning of October 31st, 1991. Chad's mother, Karen, rose early and went to the church without waking her children, allowing them to continue sleeping. However, just a few minutes into her church service, Karen received a phone call. It was my daughter, and she asked me if Chad was with me, and I said no, I left him at home, and she said, "Well, we've looked everywhere, and we can't find him." Karen rushed back home and began scouring the neighborhood for Chad. She sought assistance from her neighbors as well. Despite their collective efforts and their thorough search, Chad seemed to have vanished without a trace. It was as though he had disappeared into thin air. Now, it was the police's turn to investigate the matter. During his initial inspection, he looked for signs of a break-in, but there were no indications of forced entry. Moreover, there were no signs of struggle inside the house. Based on the initial investigation, he began to consider the possibility that Chad might have run away from home. However, Karen firmly believed that her son had been kidnapped. And as the sun set and the day turned into a chilly night, the tension escalated into fear. Adding to her fear, the crucial 48-hour window had passed without any signs of him. During the interview, Chad's older sister Angela Choice provided a crucial piece of information to the detective. Her house keys had disappeared the day before, and she distinctly recalled leaving them by the back door of their residence. This revelation raised additional questions, suggesting the possibility of a planned kidnapping or something even more disturbing. 2 days after Chad's disappearance, a ransom note was discovered at the business of Chad's uncle, Greg Sterling, prompting the investigation to swiftly shift focus to a kidnapping scenario. As the family attempted to deliver the money at the Greyhound bus station as instructed, the kidnapper failed to appear. Several days later, Chad's mother received an anonymous phone call revealing that Chad's disappearance was linked to a family member's drug debt with a man named Paco. Investigators discovered that Greg Sterling owed money to 3 Colombian drug dealers in the area, Paco Jr. and Carlos, shedding light on a possible motive of Chad's abduction. However, the case still remained elusive. On the 1-year anniversary of Chad's disappearance, his mother, Karen Choice, discovered a note fluttering on her car windshield. The note asserted that Chad was still alive and demanded $6,000 for his safe return. This development reignited the investigation, filling the Choice family with hope and prayers of seeing Chad again. However, the case suffered a setback when the kidnapper failed to make contact once more, causing the investigation to stall again. Time was not on their side. Slowly, years were passing by, and Chad Choice's disappearance gradually evolved into a cold case. 4 years later, in October 1995, a grocery sack appeared on the Choice family's doorstep. Initially, it seemed like a regular grocery sack. However, upon opening it, it revealed something that would haunt Karen Choice for the rest of her life. Inside the package was a human skull. The skull was subsequently sent to the FBI for analysis. DNA samples from Choice's family were collected to compare with the skull's DNA to confirm its identity as Chad's. Despite these efforts, the results remained inconclusive. Later, the skull was sent to a university in Texas for further examination, involving the expertise of forensic anthropology. The results came back, and unfortunately, Karen's worst fears were confirmed when forensic analysis revealed that the skull indeed belonged to Chad. Investigators grappled with the ruthless nature of a person who not only commits a crime, but continues to torment the victim's family for years. Despite the struggle to comprehend this, Karen all along had an unshakable feeling in her heart that she would never see Chad alive again. All she could do now was pray for justice. While Chad Choice's case grew increasingly difficult to solve, another narrative unfolded in Smith County Jail in early 1996. A man named Patrick Horn was slated to be sentenced in federal court for credit union robberies and carjacking charges. He was also charged with the murder of James Levasseur, a fruit stand owner. It became evident that Horn was destined to spend the rest of his life behind bars or even face a potential death sentence. However, this man would soon become the center of Chad's murder case. It occurred when he mentioned Chad Choice's name to the police during his time behind bars. While this might have been part of a deal to reduce his prison sentence, to the investigators, it marked the first significant breakthrough they had made in the case so far. Horn was a resident in the Choice family's neighborhood and was friends with them. During his interview regarding Chad's case, Horn informed investigators that he knew the identity of Chad's killer. As per Horn's account, Chad was murdered by two local drug dealers, both Colombian nationals who were known by the street names Paco and Carlos. But the case was just about to get more twisted. After Horn made the statement, he received a package in his jail cell containing a small boy's leg bone, later confirmed through analysis to be Chad's. Horn asserted to the police that Paco and Carlos had sent the package. However, detectives couldn't shake the feeling that Horn was hiding something significant about the entire story. Despite repeated questioning by the detectives, Horn consistently maintained that he had no additional information apart from Paco and Carlos being the culprits. However, on May 31st, 1996, Horn finally disclosed something more. He tells us, he says, basically, I'm a victim in this crime as well. All I did was help bury the child. I didn't have any other involvement in it, and now they're threatening me because of my knowledge of what they did. Then Horn then revealed the precise location where Chad was buried. Shortly afterward, he was escorted by the police to 401 Sunnyside in Tyler, which was Horn's own backyard. At 4 p.m. that same day, the detectives began digging and discovered Chad's skeletal remains along with 38 caliber shell casings. This moment marked a sudden turn in the investigation, with all suspicions now pointed directly at Patrick Horn. Without delay, in June 1996, the investigators hurried to Athens, a city in Texas. In a jail cell there, a man sat who was anticipated to be a crucial piece of the puzzle, important in solving the case once and for all. This man was none other than Patrick Horn's brother, Keaton Horn, who was facing charges of probation violation. The detectives' suspicions were completely on point this time. With Keaton's statement, this case solidified into concrete evidence that Horn was indeed responsible for this notorious crime. Keaton admitted to digging up the bones or the leg bone and mailing it to Pat in jail and at Horn's direction, preparing the note to make it look like a threat from Paco and Carlos. An investigator explained. Horn's scheme to mislead investigators had ultimately unraveled. The solution to a seemingly unsolvable case was finally in hand. However, one question still lingered. Why did Horn kill Chad? On September 24, 1999, 8 years after Chad Choice's murder, the jury found Horn guilty in the Smith County Courthouse and sentenced him to death. However, even at the end of his chapter, Horn wouldn't cease tormenting the Choice household. Horn adamantly refused to sign the waiver allowing Chad's remains to be released to his family for a proper burial. Legally, he was required to agree to the release since the remains were evidence in his case. However, he insisted on retaining control over the fate of the 8-year-old Chad's remains. Horn did initially sign a waiver indicating his agreement to the release of Chad Choice's remains. However, the document was somehow lost between his attorney's office and the judge's office. At first deemed a mere formality, District Judge Diane DeVasto announced in a December 1999 hearing that she would order the release of 30 exhibits, including Chad's skull and other bones, to his family for burial, contingent upon Horn signing another waiver. Horn's appellate lawyer, Tommy Wilkinson of Greenville, sent the document to Horn via Federal Express, anticipating its return with the signature within a day. However, a month passed without any response from Horn. He did not reply to several letters from his attorney and ignored messages sent to him through officials at the Atlanta Federal Prison. Assistant District Attorney Ed Marty stated that if the remains were granted without the waiver, they might have to be exhumed sometime in the future. It remains uncertain when Horn eventually signed the waiver, and if he did, when he signed it. Furthermore, Horn was 17 years old when he committed the murder of Chad. According to a ruling by the United States Supreme Court, anyone under the age of 18 cannot be executed. As a result, his sentence was commuted to life in prison. While this might not have been the exact form of justice Karen Choice desired, she could finally find solace in knowing that Patrick Horn would never walk free.
On April 18, 1993, a biologist conducting a tortoise survey in the desolate area near Tropicana Avenue and Durango Drive in Las Vegas, Nevada, made a startling discovery. Among the rocks and dirt, partially buried, was a handcrafted quilt. Upon closer inspection, the biologist noticed strands of human hair and the distinct smell of decay. Terry Miller, a cold case investigator from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, revealed that the Clark County coroner determined the woman had likely been killed by multiple gunshot wounds in the mid to late 1991. Despite extensive efforts by law enforcement, the woman's identity remained a mystery, earning her the name Jane Tropicana Doe. The case eventually went cold. In February 2023, the Metro Police enlisted the help of Othram to conduct a forensic genetic genealogy investigation on the remains. Finally, after over 30 years, the cold case section of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department identified the victim as Linda Sue Anderson, also known as Linda Sue Andrews. Linda, a 38-year-old mother of 3, resided in Henderson, Nevada, at the time of her death. Her family had last heard from her in a phone call during 1991. Tragically, Linda's children believed for all these years that their mother had abandoned them due to her struggles with mental illness, and as a result, she was never reported missing. Mikal Kalishin, one of Linda's daughters, expressed to investigators, "So this whole time we were thinking that she left us, and she did not love us. This is a huge thing in our lives." While Linda lived with her husband in Henderson, Nevada, her children resided in northern Nevada with their father. Mikal added, "We called each other all the time on the phone." In 1991, Mikal and her siblings received unexpected news from their stepfather. Their mother had made the decision to leave and start a new life. Mikal recalls the moment when her stepfather arrived home and discovered that their mother's belongings were gone. She left behind a note expressing her desire to begin anew and not be found by anyone. However, Mikal never had the chance to see the note herself. Divorce records from 1992 indicate that her stepfather believed he had last seen Linda, their mother, in October 1991. He revealed shocking details about Linda leading a double life and being involved in an affair. This revelation left everyone in disbelief, as they couldn't understand why Linda would abandon her children. Despite their initial denial, Mikal and her siblings had to come to terms with the fact that their mother had indeed left them. Mikal held on to the hope that one day her mother would reach out to her, but she never anticipated the call she received from the Metro Police. The devastating news was that her mother had been murdered. Mikal and her family are left with countless questions about the circumstances surrounding Linda's death. They yearn for answers and hope that the identification of Linda's remains will bring forth more information about the person responsible for taking her life.
In Garden Grove, Orange County, on May 21, 1987, a tragic event unfolded when 23-year-old Shannon Rose Lloyd was found lifeless in her rented bedroom. She had been a victim of severe assaults and was ultimately strangled. This case remained a mystery for years until 2003, when a significant breakthrough in forensic science connected Shannon's death to another disturbing case, the murder of 27-year-old Renee Cuevas in 1989. Renee's body was discovered not far from a Marine base in Orange County. The link between these two cases, despite being years apart and under different circumstances, marked a new chapter in the long-standing investigation. The authorities were able to connect these cases after such a long time through a breakthrough in forensic science that provided crucial evidence linking the two tragic events. Orange County, California, is a vibrant and diverse region located in Southern California. It is comprised of 34 municipalities and is renowned for its stunning beaches, world-famous surfing spots, and popular amusement parks such as Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. As a result, it has become a highly sought-after tourist destination. With a population of over 3 million people, Orange County ranks as the fifth largest county in the United States. While it generally enjoys a reputation for safety, there are certain areas within the county that experience gang activity. Against this backdrop, the cold case of Shannon Rose Lloyd and Rennie Cuevas remains unsolved, casting a shadow over this otherwise thriving county. Shannon Rose Lloyd, born in 1964, was a vibrant and adventurous 23-year-old residing in Garden Grove, California. Known for her tomboyish charm and zest for life, Shannon possessed a multifaceted personality. Her love for horses was just one aspect of her vibrant character. Although details about her work life and family background, including her parents' names, were not widely known, it was clear that Shannon's life story was still unfolding. Those who knew Shannon remember her as a free-spirited wild child, always ready for an exciting adventure. Spending time with her meant embarking on a spontaneous journey with no predetermined destination. Shannon's brother, Tom Lloyd, shared her enthusiasm for life, contributing to the dynamic energy of their social circle. According to a close friend, Shannon was rumored to be a mother to a young son, revealing a tender side to her otherwise carefree nature. Her relationship with her boyfriend was a testament to love and patience. Despite Shannon's youthful energy and reluctance to settle down, the boyfriend's unwavering devotion to her was evident. He consistently made an effort to be by her side, demonstrating his deep care for her. Shannon's close-knit group of friends included Brian Scholes, John Beckman, and Roger Fillion. They were known for their strong bond, camaraderie, and shared love for fun and music. Rennie Cuevas, born in 1960, resided in Orange County, California at the age of 27. Her family held a deep affection for her, especially her grandmother Mercedes, who lovingly referred to her as Amma. Rennie shared a close bond with her siblings Michael, Kelly, Victor, and her sister Marlene, enveloped in familial love. This love extended to her aunt Amelia, who held a special place in Rennie's heart. Unfortunately, tragedy struck as all these beloved family members have since passed away. Rennie was a devoted mother to her son, Louis Ramirez, who bore a striking resemblance to her. Louis was the center of her world, bringing her immense pride and joy. She showered him with unconditional love, ensuring he always had little gifts, candies, toys, and clothes. In Louis's eyes, his mother was his everything. Rennie possessed a striking physical beauty, with long brownish red hair and fair snow-white skin. Her smile, adorned with adorable dimples, radiated happiness. These same dimples were a charming trait passed on to Louis. Everyone around her could feel Rennie's angelic presence. One unforgettable moment was when she excitedly shared her spiritual journey of being born again, her enthusiasm making her appear like a dancing angel. Sadly, this vibrant and beautiful woman's life was tragically cut short, leaving a void in the hearts of those who loved her. In 1987, Shannon Rose Lloyd, then 23 years old, rented a room in northern Garden Grove. Her residence was situated in the 11,900 block of Donna Lane, a peaceful part of the neighborhood. The house was owned by 70-year-old Casimir Bursuk, who provided Shannon with accommodation. It was an ordinary dwelling in a typical Orange County suburb, where tranquility was expected in everyday life. However, on May 21st of that year, an unimaginable tragedy shattered the serenity of this community. Casimir Bursuk, Shannon's landlord, made a horrifying discovery. He found Shannon's lifeless body in her room, a sight that no one, including himself, was ever prepared to witness. Casimir, overwhelmed with shock and a sense of urgency, hurriedly made his way to a neighbor's house, desperately seeking assistance. His primary objective was to immediately contact the authorities and report the horrifying scene he had stumbled upon. The police were promptly summoned to the location, initiating a lengthy and intricate investigation into the untimely demise of Shannon. This particular day marked a pivotal moment, not only for Shannon's loved ones but also for the criminal history of Orange County. The tranquility of the neighborhood was forever disrupted by this tragic event. 2 years later, another heart-wrenching incident unfolded in Orange County. In the early hours of February 19, 1989, a disturbing discovery was made near the El Toro Marine Base along Lambert Road. It was there that the lifeless body of Renee Cuevas, a 27-year-old woman, was found. This grim revelation was made by an anonymous individual who, upon encountering such a distressing sight, promptly notified the police. The area surrounding the El Toro Marine Base, typically associated with the disciplined lives of military personnel, suddenly became the focal point of a criminal investigation. The peacefulness of the early morning was shattered by the flurry of police activity as they arrived to unravel the intricacies of this tragic incident. Renee's death, occurring just 2 years after Shannon's, added another layer of sorrow and enigma to the Orange County community. The close proximity of these two cases, both in terms of time and geography, gave rise to numerous questions and concerns. The serene and orderly atmosphere of the area was once again overshadowed by the darkness of an unresolved crime, leaving the community and Renee's loved ones in a state of shock and sorrow. Immediately following the discovery of Shannon Rose Lloyd's body, the police initiated an extensive investigation into her untimely demise. They soon uncovered the distressing details. Shannon had been brutally assaulted and strangled in her own bedroom. The revelation had a profound impact on the community, intensifying the already tragic nature of the event. Shannon, described by neighbors as an attractive and petite woman, was known to be a mother and had a boyfriend who frequently visited her. However, there were occasional sightings of questionable individuals at her residence, adding complexity to the case and expanding the potential pool of people who may have been involved or had knowledge of her final moments. Interestingly, the police had been called to Shannon's residence on 3 separate occasions before, though the reasons behind these visits remained unclear. Furthermore, neighbors reported a high incidence of burglaries in the area during that time. Surprisingly, there was no evidence of forced entry into Shannon's house, and no belongings seemed to be missing. This lack of disturbance at the crime scene suggested that the perpetrator may have been familiar with Shannon or her home. Despite these details, the investigation reached a standstill, with no clear suspects or leads. Shannon Rose Lloyd's case went cold. When Renee Cuevas' body was discovered, the police immediately launched a parallel investigation to Shannon's case. The circumstances surrounding Renee's death bore a chilling resemblance to Shannon's. She too had been brutally assaulted and strangled. This disturbing similarity indicated a possible pattern, raising concerns for both the investigators and the community. However, the investigation into Renee's death faced significant challenges. Like Shannon's case, there were no obvious leads or suspects to pursue. The lack of evidence and witnesses left the police with limited avenues for exploration. As a result, it became increasingly difficult to reconstruct the events leading up to Renee's tragic demise. Over time, the investigation lost momentum. The available clues led to dead ends, and the trail of the perpetrator went cold. In a surprising turn of events, a significant breakthrough occurred in 2003 for the cold cases of Shannon Rose Lloyd and Renee Cuevas. Law enforcement's persistence led to the reopening of Shannon's case nearly 2 decades after her death. With advancements in forensic technology, the DNA evidence from the crime scene was entered into CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System. This national database for DNA profiles offered hope in solving these long-standing mysteries. The CODIS results reveal a shocking truth. The DNA from Shannon's case matched that from Renee's murder, indicating the same person was responsible for both crimes. Despite this crucial evidence, the killer's identity remained unknown, requiring further investigation. The breakthrough finally came in 2021 when the DNA evidence from both cases underwent forensic genetic genealogy. This innovative method, combining DNA analysis with genealogical research, marked a new phase in the investigation. Through this detailed process, a potential suspect was identified. Reuben J. Smith, the perpetrator in the cases of Shannon Rose Lloyd and Renee Cuevas, was born on December 11, 1959, in Michigan. Despite his connections to the community in the 1980s, much of Smith's background, including his childhood, education, and personal life, remained a mystery. Even the identities of his parents were unknown, leaving gaps in his early years. In the 1990s, Smith relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada. Following the relocation to Las Vegas, Nevada, Reuben J. Smith's criminal activities eventually led to his arrest in July of 1998. He was taken into custody by the police on charges of inhumane assault and attempted murder of a woman. This arrest marked a pivotal moment as it brought Smith's actions under legal scrutiny. Despite the dismissal of the charges against him, Smith tragically took his own life in November of 1999 using a firearm in Las Vegas. This sudden end to his life left many questions unanswered. However, through DNA evidence obtained from Smith's previous arrest, a crucial link was established. The DNA profile from Smith matched the male DNA found at the crime scenes of Shannon Lloyd and Rennie Cuevas, revealing the truth. Reuben J. Smith was the perpetrator behind the murders of both women. The confirmation of Smith's involvement in these crimes brought closure to the long-standing mystery surrounding their deaths. The resolution of the cold cases of Shannon Rose Lloyd and Rennie Cuevas provided a deep sense of closure to their families, who had endured years of unanswered questions and unresolved grief. Yolanda Liu, Renee's cousin, came forward to express sincere gratitude towards the police and all those involved in the investigation. Additionally, Garden Grove Police Chief Amir El Farah issued a statement. As we conclude the investigation into the unsolved cases of Shannon Rose Lloyd and Rennie Cuevas, two significant inquiries arise. Is there any possibility of a different approach that could have expedited the resolution of these cases? And what valuable insights can we extract from their narratives to assist forthcoming investigations?